Hey, this is Jack, and this video is called the number one thing that you can do to understand men. Hey, I'm Jack Butler. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thanks for being here. And if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead, click the button on the right-hand corner of the screen or the first link down below this video, and then tap the bell notification so you hear of new videos as soon as they come out. I'm here in the North Island, New Zealand. Stunning views here behind. Hope you can get a bit of that. Actually, let me just give you the panorama here. This is called Te Puna Quarry Park. It's really neat. It's got lots of amazing vegetation. So let's get into it. What's this one thing that you can do? The one thing that you can do to help you understand men better is to take them less personally. It's to take men less personally. Now, why might that be a good thing? Well, it's probably going to allow you to have much more scope and space to learn what you want to learn about men and to learn about being in relationship with men, because it just creates a much easier learning environment. When you're taking everything that he does personally, typically you're going to be hurt, you're going to be impacted, you're going to be struggling to understand things that may have actually very little to nothing to do with you. Now, that's not to say that if you are having an impact, you want to be with that, right? We want to be with authentic impact. So this isn't about discounting your experience. This isn't about manipulating or overriding your experience. If you feel hurt or upset, be with that in an authentic way. And you can learn to be less hurt and upset over time by actually the frame and perspectives that you're in. And one of those frames can be just taking things less personally, right? So that might mean that if he hasn't texted you back as soon as you would like, it may not be that that's a really conscious decision of him, like, oh, I'm deliberately not texting you. It might be that he's just single focused, as many men are, and focused on what's in front of him, which might be a problem. It might be his work. It might be what he's stressed about. And you're going to get a lot more from him, right, in terms of the support and connection that you want when you align with that, rather than taking that personally and then perhaps making him wrong for that, or, and this is an important thing, or you might be subjectifying him. And what I mean by that is you might be imagining that he's doing things from the same place or motivation that you would be if you were doing those same things. So it could be true, for example, if you don't text someone back relatively responsively, it might be that that actually is meaningful in your world, right? It means that you're upset with them, or that there's something in the space that is stopping you reaching back out to them, right? Or it could be that if you aren't making time to see him in a certain way, you might be doing that for good reason, right? It might be that you're upset about something and actually that's stopping you making a plan in a certain way, let's say. But it might not be at all that that is what's going on for him. And what I found, both in my personal experience and people I've worked with, which is a lot now, typically people are more different and nuanced than we give them credit for. Right? So if you're going to a party and doing a certain behavior, right? Maybe you're at a party and you're not talking with a person. That might mean something in your world, right? And in his world, that might not mean something at all. So this is an invitation to take things less personally, to make fewer assumptions about him and his experience, and to cultivate curiosity and openness to finding out, hey, what is actually going on over there? Before I create a story or narrative, what's actually going on over there? And if you've already created a story or narrative, because for lots of us that's an almost automatic process, you can reach out to him and say, hey, I notice I'm in a story, and I'm in a story that says the reason that you're not reaching back out to me responsibly on text is because you don't care about me. Right? And at least you give him the benefit of being able to check it out, and you do your best to be able to hear his answer with as much truth and honesty as you can, and without closing the space down from taking it more personally than you have to. Basically, if you can take things less personally, it actually allows you to create more space around your and his experience. And most relationships benefit from having more space around yours and his experience. That's going to be a good thing. Now, the other thing that you might want to do in order to take things less personally is actually to give yourself permission to learn. What I found consistently with my coaching clients, and historically in my own life, although this is something I've made really significant gains on, is actually that we don't give ourselves very much permission to learn. We don't really let ourselves have the experience that, hey, I am exactly where I am in this particular bit of learning, in my relational development, in my relational IQ, in my ability to understand a man. I am exactly where I am. It's like permission to be exactly where you are, with all the things you do understand, with all the things you don't understand, with all the things that completely confuse you, or you feel you get wrong, or he feels you get wrong. That you can actually be with that and say, well, I am where I am, and I don't get better by saying to myself, I should know more, I should know better, I should know this. Right? Permission to learn is really the answer to our inner critics. Permission to learn is the answer to our inner critics, because permission to learn says, hey, you are where you are. You know, if this was learning a language, right, you know what you know, you can speak the language to the level you can, and you don't get better at a language by saying to yourself, I should know it more. You get better by actually being open to learning, by creating a better learning environment. So if you're like any of us, there's going to be a ton of things for you to learn about the people you want to be in relationship with, right? Tons of things, particularly because oftentimes we are attracted to people who are helping us learn and develop, right? There's a thing called relationship lessons. And that basically means that at a certain stage of development, a lot of your development is going to be attracting in a partner, or over time partners, who can help you learn, who can help you integrate, who can show you the places where you're wounded so you can do the work to complete your past and to heal. Right? Now, that's not the most sexy, glamorous take on relationships, but most people that I've learned from that seem to know something about mature adult relationships, or at least including some of that perspective, that you are inviting in the things that you need to learn. Now, is it hard to learn them if you're on your own back all the time telling yourself, I should already know this. I should already know this. I keep making this mistake. Why am I making this mistake? Why do I just keep attracting this kind of unavailable guy? Or why does it never work out for me? You know, all of this is subtle forms of your inner critic bashing you over the head, telling you should be better or you should be doing differently. And that's a really hard way of learning. You know, imagine if you were learning French, or even something probably harder for most of you if you're English speaking, Cantonese, and every time you made a mistake, I rap you over the knuckles with a ruler. That's probably not going to help you learn so much as just in a more gentle way, reflecting like, hey, there's something you might want to learn here. No big deal. And you can make your own relationship development, your own ability to understand men, go faster and easier if you can just say, hey, yeah, there's some things I have to learn. Sometimes my guy, or men in general, I've found are completely bewildering or confusing to me. And so why don't I have the humility there to say there's some things I might need to learn, and I want to have permission, and I want life to support me, and I want me to support me in that process. Now, let's say you are having the noticing in this moment that, yeah, I do tend to take things really personally. Right? Maybe that's just been true for you. What can you actually do to start taking things less personally? So number one is you can start to slow down and breathe and put more space before your meaning making. Right? So it basically means you when you notice, oh, I'm in a story or in a perspective, you try and slow it down and not indulge that perspective, but actually just see what it's like to not have a story about a particular thing that's going down, right? Maybe he's not texting you back. What would it be like to not have a story about why he's not texting you back, but to actually go to him and try and learn about what is going on in his world about texting you back? Now, I'm not saying that he's right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying nothing of that. He might have a ton to learn about being a more attuned and responsive partner, or he might have a ton to learn about how to be a better partner to you specifically. And it's much easier if you start from a place of curiosity and making few assumptions and checking out his world so that you can understand what's actually going on over there. Maybe what goes on for him is that during his day, he really doesn't like to check his phone, right? Or maybe there's certain environments at work where it's just completely inappropriate for him to check his phone. Or maybe he's available, but in kind of guy terms, right? Which means he can give you a quick response to the point. He might be able to give you a solution or an idea, but he's not really available for a more kind of warm, fuzzy, connected way of connecting with you during the day, right? Or maybe actually by you pointing out to him, he can take it on and say, you know what, I can leave you a quick voicemail in the middle of the day. And if you've got anything like you want to text me, I can get back to you then, but it's just hard for me to do it in the main hours of the morning when I'm, with a client or whatever happens in his working life. That, if that happens, means he can take on your request, he can hear it, you're not making him wrong, you're not blaming him, you're getting into his world and you're actually understanding each other. And ideally, he would learn how to do that for you as well, right? Two people who are committed to understanding each other's world. That's a powerful thing, even when we're doing it across a huge difference of how we natively orient to being, communicating, problems, and the things that come up in relationship. The second thing that you can do to take things less personally is you can focus on cultivating availability for impact. Now, availability for impact, it kind of means rather than I have a sort of automatic right to get upset with you or to blame you or to move into any kind of orientation like that, availability for impact is it's kind of like, hey, if I've done something to you, I'm going to be that's had an impact in your world. I want to be available for that impact. I'm not gonna hang around being guilty for the thing that I did, even though I might have to say sorry or make remorse. But the shift is rather than, he made me feel a certain way, his lack of communication is making me feel a certain way. It's that I get closer to myself and I notice, well, what is the impact of that? The impact of not hearing from him is that I feel sad, or I feel lonely, or maybe I don't feel very valuable. Right? And when you get closer to yourself, this is huge spiritual practice for any of us, right? We get closer to ourselves, we actually cultivate intimacy, we know our own experience, and we can start to communicate from that place. And it takes him off the hook for being blameworthy and actually gets you closer to what's the real thing that's going on here. And maybe you need to learn how to be with that experience a little bit. Maybe it would serve you to be able to be with the experience of not feeling valuable or not feeling connected or feeling lonely. And that's not the end of the world. It's actually part of the human experience. And the more you get close to yourself, the more intimate you get with yourself in those situations, the more you can bring to yourself and to the relationship, right? It's now you're no longer at the whim of, if this doesn't happen in the relationship in real time, I'm going to have to feel things I don't want to feel. It's like, they may not be my favorite feelings, but I'm actually not avoiding. I'm not repressing. I'm not trying to get around the fact that at some times in life, maybe I have this experience that I don't feel loved, or I don't feel valuable, or I don't feel connected. And of course, we all want more experiences of feeling loved and valuable and connected. And sometimes life isn't that. And sobering up and being an adult, mature relationship is about a lot of those things. It's about not having to avoid the places where it doesn't feel good. Right? So if you can take things less personally by being available to yourself for the impact of things and available to other people for the impact of your actions, rather than this sort of old school, he made me feel or I've made myself feel, it actually just opens up the possibilities for what can be in a space with someone. Most men like not being made wrong, right? Now, that doesn't mean you don't get the right to bring your needs. Doesn't mean that you don't get your right to make legitimate requests. Absolutely. But it's learning how to do that from a place of, I'm not already personally hurt by the things that you're doing that I've created a meaning out of, which is I haven't checked out with you, and I'm continuing to hurt myself by that. I've taken something personally that maybe I don't have to take it quite so personally. Now, it could also be that that's the gift that you can bring him. Maybe he needs to learn how to take things more personally in relationship to you. Maybe that would actually be an edge of development for him, and that's fine. Right? We kind of get to have that. But the context of this video is, how can you help yourself? What can you do to help yourself understand men more? And if you can take things less personally, you open up a whole context of learning that may not have been available to you. Now, if you like what you're hearing here, I want to invite you to a new webinar that my teaching partner Clayton and Olsen and I have. It's called the Relationship Ready Preview. It relates to a program that we offer people that you might be interested in. So if you want to check out our work more, you can just click the link below this video and find a time that works for you in your time zone, and we will see you there. It's been getting great feedback, and I'd love for you to experience it. If you haven't, it's new, it's brand new out, and we're excited to be there with you. And as always, questions and comments below this video. I'd love to hear your perspectives on what I'm sharing here, whether it makes sense to you. And once more, if you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button, and we'll see you on future videos. Thanks so much.